beauty here is amazing, and to me it was somewhat unexpected. The weather was perfect. Sunny and cool in the shade and warm in the sun. We landed in Kigali, which is the capital, and I actually expected it to be a little more developed. There are some beautiful buildings. There are also some dirt roads, and it's really not set up for tourists. The shops are all pretty functional, and you can't buy a Rwanda t-shirt to save your life. What most of us know Rwanda for, of course, is the genocide, which lasted for 3 months in 1994. But the ferocity was unimaginable. Entire families were wiped out. Some estimates say 1 million people were killed. The causes of the killings are complex and rooted in Western imperialism, but to me what was impressive is how the people are recovering. There seems to be a national movement aimed at moving on, at finding a better way. Jean-Paul Kayahura is president of Radio Maria Rwanda, the country's Catholic radio station.
Malgré le problème du génocide, malgré la pauvreté, malgré les crises, il y a, il y a des pistes, il y a des raisons de croire à un avenir meilleur.
Tourism is gradually rebounding. The Hotel des Mille Collines, made infamous by the movie Hotel Rwanda, once again caters to the needs of tourists. Rwanda's game parks are not as large as those of nearby Kenya, but you can see plenty of wildlife on a tour of the Akagera Game Park.
Each and everyone has got a unique mark on it.
Unique?
Yeah. It's like a human fingerprint.
Aside from the Akagera Game Park in the east part of the country, by far the biggest tourist attraction in Rwanda lies in the northwest corner bordering Congo and Uganda. That's where the mountain gorillas are. And of course it was raining. The one day it rained was the day we trekked up the mountains to see the gorillas. And it was awesome. They spend some part of the day eating. But a lot of the day, they sleep. The head male is the silverback. The young ones take this time to play. sometimes supervised by their elders. Sometimes showing off a bit. Our group had the youngest member of the gorilla families in the area. Overall, it was amazing. Of course, increased tourism can't solve Rwanda's problems. Many still live in grinding poverty with lives of backbreaking work. Where tools are heads. Bicycles. And in the tea fields, hoes. The incidence of AIDS is only 8%, which is low for Africa, but it's still a major problem. Dr. Michael Rich is head of Rwanda's Partners in Health Hospital in Rinkwavu.
Partners in Health got started in Rwanda for a number of reasons. One is that Paul Farmer, one of the founders of Partners in Health, had done some writing on structural violence and had visited the country a number of times. The second is the government came to us and asked us to help them bring HIV care to the rural areas. We felt the need was very significant there. And the third is that we partnered with the Clinton Foundation, who was able to provide most of the funding for the work here in Rwanda. So we had all three things. We had a government that wanted us to come here, we had an area that needed our help greatly, and we had some resources to help.
One of the most impressive things to me was the way they dealt with the parents and children who had HIV. The children came every Saturday, and they did lessons and sang songs, learning how to care for themselves and their disease, and they played games. In fact, one of the most fun things I did was play with the children. Yes, I'm in that picture, if you can see me.
Our goal isn't just to give people food or medicines, but it's really to try to advocate for the populations that we work with, populations that are in extreme poverty and sick, but also to really, if you said what our organization is about, I would say it's about justice and fighting the injustices that exist for these people.
After the genocide, a number of non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, sank resources into Rwanda. But it's 93-year-old Roz Carr who tells one of the most unusual stories. She had owned a flower farm in Rwanda before the genocide.
Amukoro.
The orphanage she founded for children whose parents were killed in the genocide has saved many lives, although it operates on a shoestring budget.
When the genocide started, I was evacuated from Rwanda, and I went to America. I spent hours just looking at CNN, seeing the terrible things that were happening in this country. And I decided to come immediately back. And I saw pictures of babies, 10,000 babies who had been orphaned by an epidemic of cholera in refugee camps in the Congo. And I thought I could walk 10 kilometers to that refugee camp, which is on the same road as my property. And I was going to pick up the babies and bring them back and take care of them. I began fixing up an old building so it'd be ready for orphans. And there were 300,000 Rwanda children who were lost. So it wasn't primarily an orphanage. It was a center for lost or orphaned children. And immediately the Red Cross and then Save the Children UK began bringing children. I opened it in December '94, and by about mid-March I had 40 children. And the following year we were up to 90. And now we have 120. I feel that the only solution to the ethnic problem in Rwanda is in the young children. And the children in the orphanage were even of 3 ethnic groups, because we had, by chance, 3 Batwa pygmies. And they were more or less evenly divided in the beginning. And the women who worked as mothers were also half Hutu and half Tutsi. And the children grew up as though it was a big family. And I used to test it by taking photos and telling a child, I take your picture with your best friend. And nearly always the best friend was of the other ethnic group. And so I hope and pray that they will continue growing up as a family, and that they never use the words Tutsi and Hutu, only the word Banyarwanda, which means people of Rwanda.
Yetu Kosi Sigele